Here's a question, regardless of political persuasion, that you want to ask yourself. Why wasn't this done sooner? This has been going on for decades. Why was it not done sooner? What changed? And there's a new law that limits IRS Skynet billing. If you've ever gotten an IRS letter, it was probably generated by Skynet, the IRS's computer. No humans were involved. Oftentimes, the computer makes up a bill, sends it to you. Maybe you receive it, maybe you don't. It says you owe money, and it doesn't tell you why you owe money. It doesn't tell you much of what to do about it. It simply says you owe money. Millions of taxpayers end up just paying it, or worse yet, not paying it, or maybe not even seeing the letter, and owing the IRS, and then penalties and interest accrue. So bottom line, Skynet has regularly sent out letters saying you owe money. And if you don't respond within 60 days, then you owe the money. And by the way, the letter either puts in tiny print, you have 60 days to respond, or doesn't include that notice at all. So a new law is making this less bad. Now when Skynet sends letters to you, Skynet must explain why you owe. There must be a clear explanation of why you owe the amount. There has to be a line number on the return saying this is the part of the tax return where the amount is. There has to be the detailed explanation. They have to explain the reason for the adjustment. And finally, they have to prominently put that you have 60 days to respond or you owe the money. This is an improvement. This is a vast improvement. This allows us to actually respond. Now, a lot of you don't, well, everybody does not want to receive an IRS letter, except that you'd rather receive it than they send it and you never see it, because then you owe and you don't even know you owe. So you do want to make sure that your address is up to date with the IRS. There's a form, an 8822, and you put an up-to-date address on it. You want a mailbox, whether it's a PO box, your home address, whatever, that is checked consistently by a responsible person who, if you're not around, will forward the letter to you. So this new law does give you more recourse, but you still have to respond. Now, the way I prefer to respond is by fax. Yes, fax. The IRS is so antiquated that they still communicate by fax. I like to respond in writing, explaining here's why you're wrong. I like to do it with a fax, but understand that with the IRS, if you don't document it, it did not happen. Remember, if you do not document it and back up the documentation 7 ways to Sunday, it did not happen. I will actually videotape, there is an archaic term, I will record myself sending the fax. I will take a picture of the fax. I will take a picture of the fax being received by the IRS at the appropriate number, and I will record myself actually sending the fax. You need to be paranoid with these people. So once again, IRS Skynet notices are real. They're computer generated. You want to make sure they're sent to the right address. That's what Form 8822 is for. And when you send that form in, you want to make sure it's certified mail, return receipt. You take pictures of the form and you record yourself putting the form in the envelope. Yes, you need to be that paranoid. Then if you receive an IRS notice, you need to respond within the 60 days. There will now be, thanks to this new bill, this new law, there was a Freudian slip, they send you a bill. We passed a new law that they at least have to tell you why they're changing what they're changing, where it is on your return, and laying out the 60-day deadline. So you want to receive these letters, or I should say, if they send it, you want to receive it. You want to make sure that you respond timely. You want to prove that you responded. The easiest way to do it is a fax confirmation, but you want to document with modern technology, just filming yourself, videotaping yourself, doing this. If you don't do that, you respond late, or you can't prove that you responded. You owe the money. By the way, this was a highly bipartisan act. It's interesting. Congress just passed this law a few days ago. It was overwhelmingly bipartisan. Here's a question, regardless of political persuasion, that you want to ask yourself. Why wasn't this done sooner? This has been going on for decades. Why was it not done sooner? What changed? What changed for something that's utterly bipartisan? It was unanimous in the Senate. What changed that suddenly they passed a good new law that limits IRS Skynet notices? I'll leave you to answer that for yourself.